Welcome to Finding Humans in Tech, where we uncover the extraordinary stories behind the technology shaping our world. This isn't just about innovation, it's about the people, the dreamers, the doers, and the change makers whose journeys remind us that humanity is the soul of every breakthrough. Get ready to be inspired, to connect, and to celebrate the resilience and passion that drive the tech community forward. Let's dive into the stories that prove technology is nothing without the humans behind it. There is something about Nigeria that has produced such an amazing troupe of trailblazing humans. Is it something in the air? Is it something in the land? These questions leave us astonished as we continue to cross paths with exceptional individuals who have been born and raised in the country nicknamed the Giant of Africa, or have heritages linked to this unique West African nation. Our next human in the series is an enchanting physicist and entrepreneur born and raised in Lagos. He also has a multifaceted personality, serenading us with his beautiful poems and putting us under his magnetic spell. Red light, blue light. Where does vision lie? Within the color spectrum, all can hear our vision cry. Oblique lights, I sense sights, feel vision on my fingers. Here dreams become reality and memories do linger. Excerpt from the poem, Red Light, Blue Light by Immanuel Adewumi. So, here's introducing our next human in the series, Immanuel Adewumi, an extraordinary physics researcher from London and the founder of the Nigerian Development Hub, NDH. He has shown us how Nigerians across the world have continued to pave the way magnificently in their respective fields. This magnetic young man doesn't just navigate the scientific or technological world alone. He has varied interests, from promoting STEM education in his homeland to creating a platform for implementing sustainable development. He has been advocating zealously to change how we perceive the dynamic technological landscape and make it more accessible for people across the world. This inspiring physicist looks back on how he always had a scientific temperament growing up and wanted to break boundaries in whatever he could do. Immanuel recalls back an encounter he had with a tailor in his hometown. The young boy was fascinated with the sewing machines and needlework he saw in the tailor's shop. He remembers begging his mom to let him try out sewing. His mom had refused on the pretext that playing around with needles was not for children. But there was no stopping the curious little boy. He had made up his mind and would sneak out needles and thread. He would learn to sew when his mom wasn't around, and confesses on how he still keeps a sewing kit wherever he is. Creativity was something ingrained in him from childhood, and he narrates how he has never liked being defined in a singular box. He had also dabbled his hands in jewelry making and would sell beaded necklaces to his aunts and friends. He remembers how his 11-year-old self was willing to try his hands at anything that remotely involved creating something new and different. In middle school, he became interested in arts and poetry. His first poem, as he recounts, was about his relationship with his brother. His mom encouraged him to write more. But he is not the only poet at home. His father, the senior Mr. Adewumi, and his mom have been dabbling in the world of poetry for a long time now. He says he draws his inspiration from their works. He would acknowledge, I like writing about life, but my mom feels my poems are very scientific. The family has now planned to create an anthology of their poetical works. It's a project close to his heart, as literature has bonded his family ever since he could remember. Sundays in the Adewumi household were always filled with delectable food and hymns. He recalls how his dad would lead the family's Sunday tradition of praise and worship. Prayers and faith were a valuable part of growing up in a Christian household. He draws his biggest inspiration from his father. He animatedly affirms he is a total nerd and the most knowledgeable techie you would ever meet. Having had his background in computer science, his father experienced the whole 9-to-5 job routine and navigated the world of corporate till he found his passion in mentorship. He recently joined an organization that trains entrepreneurs starting out in the field of tech. He would lament, "My dad doesn't take compliments too well, but I am really proud of him." The special bond he shares with his dad can be seen as he excitedly narrates how the duo recorded a song for his mother's birthday, a massive hit among the family. The senior Adewumi would play the guitar and serenade the family on special occasions, and he confesses how seeing his dad perform with such passion inspired him to get into music. He recalls how, at some point in his life, he had wanted to get into the rap scene. He realized that he had a knack for rhymes. "I thought the guys around me couldn't even rhyme. I had a good chance to make it," he explains with a chuckle. Later, he realized the world of poetry that he inhabited was very different from the rap world. He laughs and admits, "The only consolation was that at least my songs rhymed." There was no vocation that this young man didn't try his hands on. Being innovative and resourceful came naturally to him. He recounts how he and his playmates would create miniature models out of cardboard as a kid, and anything they saw, they would try to replicate it. He vividly remembers seeing a helicopter and making a cardboard model of it. He would add, "All we had was ourselves and creativity. It was simpler times when there were no smartphones and social media apps." And he fondly recalls how creativity was all they had to entertain themselves. His parents met at the University of Ibadan, where his father studied computer science engineering and his mom was in an applied computer science program. He narrates how computers were mainframes and codes were written in assembly languages back in the day. He remembers how he tried to steer away from that domain for the most part of his childhood. "I was always like, I'm not going into anything related to IT," he readily admits. He explains how he was tired of hearing about RAMs and ROMs. He wanted to understand the universe instead, and how the phenomena around us exist the way they do. For a considerable part of his initial years, he tried to steer off from the field of computer science. He smirks and says, "I couldn't run off for long though. At university, he chose to major in physics. He always had a keen interest in the field and the abstract nature of the subject. He admits, "I thought nuclear was the answer, but the universe had to push him back to what he feels is his destiny now. Nuclear wasn't the answer he was searching for. He realized how it was quantum in physics and computing that would really change the future ahead. It was at Imperial College in London that he discovered his interest in quantum computing. He had found his way back to tech. It's like destiny and faith pulling me back to where I belong," he confesses. Python was the first programming language he learned, and he was intrigued by how closely it resembled the natural human language. He now wants to dive deeper into the world of quantum machine learning. He feels the world is heading in a new direction, and more research will be required in this field. A paper he wrote on the subject inspired him to strive to create an ecosystem to bring change to the technological infrastructure of his homeland. Tech has become such an indispensable part of our lives, and it was only natural that something had to be done to bring the African continent on par with the rest of the world in terms of technological developments. He recalls how his grandparents were educators in their own rights, and the household was always filled with people who appreciated learning new things. He grew up in a big family with numerous cousins, and holidays, as he remembers, were always bustling with books and games. And that's where he drew his inspiration for creating the Nigerian Development Hub, NDH. Education has always been his passion, and he wanted to extend opportunities for the youth in his country. From an African perspective, he feels there is much work that can be done. His current research is closely related to ESG, environment, social, and governance, analysis, and how there is a requirement for a standardized metric system to measure sustainability. He would say, Africa can play a big role in leading the way for sustainability in the future. All the experts and stakeholders that join the Nigerian Development Hub do see the potential and importance that the African continent holds in the immediate future. He recalls spending a year and a half cherry-picking professionals with exceptional credentials to fill the organization's top positions. It has become a chamber of sustainable business and commerce that is trying to digitalize and localize the Nigerian ecosystem to prepare for the fourth industrial revolution. He explains, we are trying to cross-pollinate ideas and see how businesses develop exponentially in the most sustainable way possible in the future. The synergy in NDH is what makes this organization tick. Experts in their respective fields bounce ideas off each other and find solutions to issues that can help a lot of people. The community they are building seeks to empower their country's economic development and transform it into a digitalized economy. The future of the African diaspora. He feels the future is getting brighter and better for young Africans starting out in the tech world. The emergence of quantum computers will only make processing faster and more efficient. The sheer amount of computing power we will have at hand will help solve many issues in biology, healthcare, research, businesses, and more. He would exclaim, if we learn to navigate through this tech revolution, the world is simply ours. He reminds us of a famous, amusing phrase that most Nigerian parents tell their children when the grades on their mark sheet meet their disapproval. The person who got first in the class, does he or she have two heads? This competitive edge drives most of them to thrive and excel in their fields. No situation or problem couldn't be solved. Nigerian parents don't bring up their children to be quitters. Far from it, they strive for their children to succeed. Nothing was truly impossible. And growing up in a Christian household, Immanuel quotes his favorite verse from the Holy Bible. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. New King James Version. Faith has been an essential part of his journey. He firmly believes that with the right mindset, there is nothing one can't do. There will always be hard times, but having faith is something that pulls people through. This inspirational scientist admits he has found many marvelous mentors and guidance in the most unexpected of places. This is where he expresses his optimism about the times ahead, as there will always be wonderful humans who will choose to work for the greater good amidst all the noise and haste. This amazing human has only convinced us further that there is something about Nigeria that keeps pulling us back to its alluring citizens, and it really excites us about the probable future, a wave of change, only the way Nigerians can. As we wrap up this episode of Finding Humans in Tech, remember this: behind every line of code, every groundbreaking innovation, and every bold idea is a human story, full of passion, resilience, and the courage to dream. These stories remind us that technology isn't just about machines. It's about the heartbeats that make them meaningful. Subscribe, like, and share our channel, and keep on joining us in this journey of discovery and connection. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep innovating, and always keep shining the light. See you later.